Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have something super epic to take a look at today, something I am beyond excited about. We have the brand new kind of retro versions of the Tyrannosaurus Rex from W Dragon, and not only do we have one, but we have both different variants of this figure to take a look at with you guys. And you can see that the actual box here is really plain. It's just a straight up black box, and then on the side you can see we have like these top secret kind of images over here, and I think that's super cool. And on top of that, you can kind of see like that old school vintage reconstruction of the Tyrannosaurus, obviously dragging its tail and showing us exactly what we're getting here again with the vintage style Tyrannosaur from W Dragon. And on top of that, you can again see that we've got that kind of grouchy look on the T-Rex, and then that one up there has the open mouth going on. So it's also classified actually, as it states right there, but I really love what they've done here with the box. It definitely is really cool, and I am beyond psyched to get these open and take a look at them. I love retro dinosaurs. If you're a fan of my channel, you'll definitely know that, so I'm popping these boxes open right now and checking these out. Okay, so I just pulled them out of the box, and man, I am beyond blown away by how big these actually are. I was not prepared for them to be as big as they are, and I haven't fully taken a look at them yet, but they look amazing. But also, as soon as you open it, you have this really nice W Dragon logo here, and of course each one comes with one of these. But if you actually turn it around, you can see basically that it's telling you to alternate the head. So you have to put the head on, and you can decide which version you want. If you want the open mouth version or the closed mouth version, it's really up to you. But they do come with the heads off. So here is the first one. We've got the brownish version, and you can now see that the head is off. But look at how big it is. I had no idea it was this large. And then you get the two different versions of the head sculpt to decide which one you would like to use on your Rex. And it looks as though they're kind of connected with a magnet, I'm thinking would be the way to go about this. Man, is that ever awesome. And that head sculpt is fantastic. So we just, wow, it took it right away. And it went right in there. And yeah, definitely looks awesome. Boy, is that ever just the absolute coolest vintage Tyrannosaur I think I've ever seen. This is honestly amazing. Let's pop this head off, and then we'll put the other head on. And now you can see what the Rex looks like with the kind of snarling or growling type of a look that we have going on now. And we also have a greenish version. And again, you would like to cover both your bases, I guess, when it comes to vintage Tyrannosaurus. So we've got the greenish version and the brown version. So we've got both of those kind of classic color schemes. And again, we've got two different head sculpts for our Rex, and both look beyond beautiful. So we'll go ahead, pop the open mouth version on our green Rex, and then we've got the closed mouth version on the brown Rex, and they look like they're absolutely about to do battle with each other, which I also love. That's probably the coolest way to display these. But man, I am beyond blown away right now. These are just insanely impressive. So let's jump straight to a closer look at both of these gorgeous models right now. So we will begin with the brownish version, and look at how perfect that is when it comes to giving us that vintage style Tyrannosaurus Rex. Boy, is that ever awesome. You can see the head sculpt sports some really nice sculpt and detail throughout, all kinds of different varying appearances to the skin texture and scale detail. Really nice looking paintwork as well. W Dragon really have outdone themselves on this release. You can see the nostrils sculpted out right there. Really nice dark wash has been applied to the majority of the figure, but you can also see like some lighter browns, almost like reddish browns. Even as you get closer to the eye, you can almost see like some reddish browns throughout. And they've dry brushed out a lot of the really nice looking skin texture with some lighter like tannish colorations, really making the scale detail pop, especially down here on the lower jaw. You can see that we definitely have the snarling version here currently. You can see the detailing there on the inside of the mouth looks great. We have some really nice kind of pinkish tones in there, and a beautiful gloss coat to add all sorts of realism. And look at how fantastic the teeth look. They look as realistic and genuine as it honestly gets. And I love the positioning here of the mouth and the way it again appears to be snarling. It just looks so super cool. Definitely a really grumpy look here on the face of this Rex. I also like the reddish eye, because so many times when I was younger I would always see Tyrannosaurs kind of portrayed with reddish eyes just to make sure they look as evil as possible, and W Dragon even captured that aspect of the model. Really nice looking detailing up here on the top of the head as well. Again, everything has been tied together paint wise with that nice dark wash. You've got like some ridges running down here, and they also pick back up again in the mid area of the head. Really nice looking paintwork as you move down into the neck region of our Tyrannosaur. You can again see those kind of like ridges or like osteoderms moving down the course of the Rex. Really rough and rugged looking skin texture on the Tyrannosaur. You can also see the ear right there, which is very nicely sculpted out back there, and you can see a really smooth transition as we head down here with some of that lighter coloration. And then we have kind of like a reddish tone for the throat, which is also something that I consistently saw on vintage Tyrannosaurs growing up, was always like that reddish throat. So they've captured that as well. And the paintwork down there looks phenomenal. That looks really nice down here as far as all the different movement in the skin wrinkles, that really nice fine scale detail right there under the lower jaw. Beautiful looking sculpt and detail. There's also like some grayish tones in this area of the lower jaw. Again, just adding some nice color variation throughout. You can see a good bit of movement to the neck region of the Tyrannosaur as it has its head turned to the right, and also kind of almost in like a downward position. Man, that is just so beautiful. I am just over the moon excited about this. You can also see a good amount of like thickness to the neck. Definitely has a big bulky appearance to it. As you move down here into the back, you start to pick up a heavily armored appearance to the back of the Rex. The skin texture definitely looks extremely rough and rugged, and we again have some nice variations of browns as we move down. You've got the shoulder blade right there, which looks really good, kind of highlighted from the skin. And as we move down here into the arms of our Rex, you can see that we have 3 fingers. Even though it's a Tyrannosaur, we have 3 fingers, because early on we definitely saw a good bit of portrayals of Tyrannosaurus with 3 fingers, so I really do like the addition of the 3 fingers. And you can see that the skin texture looks again incredible here in the arm, all very nicely highlighted with that dark wash and nice dry brushing techniques and stuff like that. Really nicely sculpted out fingers as well, if my camera would focus on it. You can see the nails are very nicely sculpted. They genuinely look sharp. They're also painted very nicely with a dark brown, and they sport a gloss coat as well. And then as you continue to move down, you have some more really nice looking scale detail. And in fact, as we get close here, look at all the different varying sizes of scales. So much work was put into the sculpt of this Rex. And we also have those very large kind of bumpy osteoderms and stuff here throughout the stomach region. And all of the paintwork again looks insanely nice as we move down the course of our Tyrannosaur. You get down here into the hip area, you can see the hip bone there protruding from the skin a little bit. Some more really nice, very big, rough and rugged looking skin texture and scale detail as you move down into the thigh. The thigh is massive on this Rex. Quite a bit of varying tones of color I can see there as well. Quite a bit of different variations of browns and light tans, and even like some reddish browns. And I can actually even see some of that gray showing back up in the stomach region again. W Dragon really did a great job of painting this out in a very realistic way. You've got the kneecap there in the front of the leg. Again, the leg is massive as we move down. You've got a very large calf muscle, again, beautifully sculpted, very nicely painted. And then we move down here into the foot sculpt, and that is about as vintage of a T-Rex foot sculpt as it gets. Drop dead gorgeous looking sculpt and detail down here in the foot. Really nice looking scale detail as well. And again, the nails are painted with kind of like a light gray here for the feet, but they transition to almost like a brownish tip for the tips of the toenails, and they as well sport that nice gloss coat, and again genuinely look sharp, so they look really realistic. And we do have dew claws, which you can see. Actually, you can see the dew claw on this foot kind of poking out over here. You also can see it there on the opposing foot. And then as we lead back up and we come back here toward the tail, you can see some nice wrinkling and creasing, again showing the movement of the tail, because the tail's kind of leaning toward the Tyrannosaur's right there. So you can see how they've sculpted that detail out really realistically. Again, very nice detailing here on the underside of the Rex as well. And as we continue to move out into the tail, the entire tail still follows along with the trend of having that very big, rough and rugged appearance to it, like we've seen through the entire Tyrannosaur, which again was always how T-Rex was portrayed as I was growing up. So I really love and appreciate what W Dragon has done here when it comes to bringing the vintage Rex to life in perfect fashion with this model. And as you move out, you can again see that it does have some nice kind of turns and curvatures to the tail as we lead out, picks up off of the ground, and then ends in a really nice tip and continues to again have that kind of armored-like look to it. And then if we turn the T-Rex around very carefully without smacking anything, you can as well see again what the appearance of the head sculpt looks like over here with that kind of snarling type of a look. And look at how beautiful the gums look and everything in there. And the teeth again are made of a really nice, very realistic material that makes them look as lifelike and realistic as it possibly can get. And the gloss coat and everything makes it have that nice saliva-like look in there. We as well have a gloss coat for the eye, which I may not have mentioned before, but we definitely do. You can see that the sculpting and detailing is really nice on this side, just like we saw on the initial side. And again, more beautiful paintwork. As we move back here into the neck region, you again have the really nice sculpting and detailing here as far as the skin texture goes, as well as some creasing and wrinkling, again showing the movement of the neck of the Rex really nicely, and also kind of like some tensing in the neck you can kind of pick up on right there. But as we move down, you can see the arm on this side is in a slightly different position compared to the arm on the initial side. This arm is lifted up a little higher, this arm's a little bit lower, almost a little bit relaxed sort of. Really nice looking skin kind of wrinkles and creasing and everything here in the stomach region of this side, and some more fantastic scale detail as you move through. You can again pick up on the shoulder blade right there. You can definitely see more of the stomach over here because the leg is trailing on this side more so than leading on the opposing side. You can pick up on some more of those grayish tones as well, which are really subtle as far as the way it's applied, and some more nice creasing here in front of the thigh. And then as you move back into the thigh, again, we have that absolutely massive thigh with that really thick looking scale detail and very large looking scale detail. You can see more of those almost like reddish browns leading down as we transition back to that nice lighter tone for the rear of the leg. You've got the nice kneecap yet again here in the front. Really thick looking skin texture as you move down the course of that leg into that beautiful foot sculpt right there, again with the really nicely painted nails. You can even see like skin stretching and wrinkling in between the toes, showing off the movement of the toes themselves. That is just super impressive detailing on this Rex. And then you again lead down through the course of the tail with that really nice looking curve as we lead out toward the tip of the tail. And we have some more fantastic sculpt and detail here on the underside of the Rex as you move along. You can see almost like a scoot-like appearance running here along the underside, even a little bit of like a pot belly for our T-Rex right there, and some chest muscles and everything. Really nice paintwork as we have like some pinkish tones here on the underside, which is also quite realistic, I would say, as far as the way that this could potentially look if, you know, Tyrannosaurs actually did look like this. But this thing is insanely beautiful. Definitely the best vintage T-Rex that I have in my collection. And we've also got the opposing head. Again, we have the more open mouth version. The sculpting and detailing of the neck, I would imagine, would be pretty much the same as what we had just seen on the other one. You can again make out the ears and everything on this one. Really nice looking paintwork as well. You can again see those reddish tones in the throat region. But this time we have the mouth in an open position. You can definitely pick up on the kind of pinkish tones there around the eye area, which I really like. And you can again see movement here when it comes to like the jawline and everything, showing off that really vicious look that we would have seen portrayed on so many vintage interpretations of Tyrannosaurs. The detailing there on the inside of the mouth looks absolutely gorgeous. Really nice looking tongue sculpt, and again the paintwork of the tongue looks great. We have kind of like a reddish wash and some pinkish tones there on the inside of the mouth for the tongue, as well as just generally the inside of the mouth. Look at how realistic and amazing the detailing there is for the inside of the mouth of the Rex. And again, the teeth look insanely real. I don't know what material W Dragon is now using for the teeth of their models, but it doesn't get much more realistic than that, except for having a real dinosaur's tooth. But they genuinely look as lifelike as it gets. And again, it just looks so beautiful as far as both the sculpt and the paint. And I love the ability to kind of change out the head sculpts there for the different versions. And I also love, again, the fact that we have it included with a magnet, because I love the addition of magnets when it comes to things like this, because I always feel like it just works so well, and definitely is the same case here with this W Dragon version. I also love that it's not just an articulated jaw, because with an articulated jaw, you just can't capture so much emotion when it comes to like the movement of the jawline and the lips and everything as you can when it comes to kind of replacing the head here. So really good on the part of W Dragon to give it the different head sculpts rather than an articulated jaw to be able to show off against so much more emotion with your Tyrannosaur. And then we've got the greenish version, and the greenish version, again, is the same sculpt. There's no difference when it comes to the sculpt between either of these that I notice, but we have an entirely different paint scheme for this one, and I really love the greenish version as well. I don't know which one I would say is my favorite. Boy, that's a tough decision, but the greenish version looks phenomenal. You can see, again, we have a plethora of different coloration here in the faces. We have some very nice light greens, some dark greens, as well as a very dark brownish wash, and then we transition to almost like some yellowish brown tones and stuff. So much really nice, very naturalistic coloration added to the head sculpt of this Rex. You can see again some very nice looking tones of green down here. Again, the dark wash highlighting all of the detail beautifully, and some more of those kind of like yellowish brown tones running along the jawline right there. Very nice realistic coloration yet again for the inside of the mouth, and we again have the very nice gloss coat there to make sure that it has that really saliva-like, wet-like look for the inside of the mouth. The teeth look phenomenal on this version as well. You can see that the jaws and everything are a darker tone of color on this one compared to what we had just seen on the initial Tyrannosaurus, and it just looks super, super cool. The eyes as well have some red, but they also have some yellow and a black pupil, so a little bit different as far as the paintwork of the eyes go on this version. And then as you continue to move here along the course of the Rex, you can see that we start out with like this really nice dark green, transitions to a little bit of a lighter green, and then transitions to even lighter of a green, before transitioning to a mixture of kind of like light greens and yellowish tones down here in the lower jaw, leading into the throat region. And you can also see again that that dark wash has been applied to highlight all of that paintwork in the most realistic way possible. And we continue to have that sort of an appearance as we move down through the course of the Rex, but they've really highlighted some of the detail beautifully with more dry brushing techniques, like specifically here in the side of the Rex when it comes to those clusters of osteoderms. Look at how nice of a job they've done when it comes to dry brushing those out and highlighting them in a very, very realistic way, but they continue to include that kind of dark wash to amp up the detail and paintwork as well. And you can see how nice it looks again with the nice dry brushing leading down here into the arm. The fingers are painted with a grayish tone on this one. And again, the paintwork is just breathtaking on this, just like it was on the initial version. You can even see like some reddish browns leading down here into the underside of the Rex, and like some slight pinkish tones as well. Each and every crack and crevice and scale on this is highlighted beautifully with the way that they've painted it. And again, as we lead down here into the thigh, you can see more of the really nice paintwork. So many different tones of green. Again, I'm picking up on quite a few different tones as I move down here. Just a lot of variation of color. And you can see again some more expertly painted feet on this version, as we have some more really nice tones of green, some nice washes, as well as like some pinkish tones as we lead down, or like some light pink and brownish tones as we lead toward the bottoms of the toes. Same deal here for the back of the feet. The nails are painted yet again with a gray and kind of end up in like a brownish tip, similar to what we had just seen on the initial Rex. Really smooth paint applications as well as you move through. Like the transitions between colors is incredibly smooth, just like we saw on the brownish version. And then if we take a look here at the opposing side, again, that head sculpt is about as mean and menacing as it gets. You can also see that the paintwork darkens around the eye, which I really quite like. We have a nice dark brown to highlight that area so that the yellow eye really pops for our Rex. You can also see the nostrils have been highlighted with that darker tone, and all of the paintwork again just looks so nice here on this side, just like it did on the initial side. And as you move through, again, you can actually again see some more of those almost like reddish browns showing up right there. But as you move through, again, I'm honestly in awe looking at how nice the sculpt is, but also the paintwork. This is easily one of the most impressive W Dragon releases I've ever seen. I was just not prepared for how big, or just overall how beautiful this Tyrannosaur, well, both of these Tyrannosaurs, were going to be. These are, again, undoubtedly the best vintage Tyrannosaurs that I've ever had the pleasure of seeing in person, and definitely two of W Dragon's best releases yet. And again, we also have the opposing head here with the snarling type of a look, and you can see that the paintwork looks pretty much just as beautiful and precise as it did on the initial head sculpt. And again, just gorgeous looking sculpt, gorgeous looking paint. I love the realism here of the mouth and the inside of the mouth and the way that the teeth have that really nice saliva-like look, the nice gloss coats on the eyes. It's just super, super realistic. Look at how grumpy he looks here from the front. But again, I love the addition of the alternate heads just to give you any type of a look you would like for your Tyrannosaur. I am just, again, completely blown away by how beautiful these are. Another thing I actually really quite love when it comes to stuff like this is that the balance is really good. And I don't know if you're taking notice to it right now, even though we have that kind of tripod look for our Rex, and you can see it's standing more upright and the tail is on the ground, it's not actually touching. The tail is actually above the ground, so it kind of has the tail up off of the ground, showing how good the balance is of the Tyrannosaur on top of everything, even though it didn't need to have that balance because it has the tail that could be on the ground to help it stand. It really doesn't need it because it still stands beautifully on its own without the tail touching. But for a size, for a length, you are looking at a little bit over 18.5 inches, approaching 18.75 inches, or around 47, maybe approaching 47.5 centimeters. So very large. And for a height, you are looking at just shy of about 8.5 inches, or around 21.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to these absolute feasts for the eyes, these vintage Tyrannosaurs from W Dragon. And look at how huge they are next to these other figures. Again, I did not realize coming into this review how big these figures were going to be or how impressive they were going to be. These figures absolutely took my expectations and crushed them massively. And again, you can definitely see why I was so shocked at how big they were next to these figures right here. And then we have Rexy from W Dragon next to our vintage Tyrannosaurs, and you can definitely see that even though the Rexy model here from W Dragon is at a similar height, the overall body mass definitely goes to the vintage version. Still really cool to see two different eras of Tyrannosaurs here created by W Dragon. And then when it comes to vintage Tyrannosaurs, I know many of you were wanting to see the W Dragon versions with the reborn versions of the vintage Tyrannosaur, and you can definitely see that yet again there is a massive size difference between these two. But honestly, if I had to choose, I would say W Dragon wins this round yet again. Their models are just so impressive when it comes to the size department as well as the sculpt and paint job. They really are the total package. But definitely a very cool visual here with the two different versions of retro Tyrannosaurs, but in my opinion, W Dragon wins this round yet again. I don't have too many vintage Tyrannosaurs as there aren't all that many out there, so for one final comparison, I chose to bring in the W Dragon Spinosaurus to show you guys how cool it looks next to these vintage Tyrannosaurs. Again, a very, very impressive model on each side of the spectrum here, but again, I think W Dragon's vintage Tyrannosaur wins the size department even against their really quite large Spinosaurus. So these brand new W Dragon vintage Tyrannosaurs are just absolute magic. Like, this is the old school style Tyrannosaur that I've just been waiting and dying to own pretty much my entire life. It is the most highly detailed version I could possibly imagine W Dragon releasing when it comes to a vintage Rex, and they really captured everything that I love and recall about the way Tyrannosaur was presented and the way it felt when I was a kid. It's all perfectly brought to life here by these W Dragon versions. The sculpts are phenomenal, so much insanely impressive and vibrant detail and sculpt throughout. It really is just a marvel to sit back and look at the amount of detail that W Dragon has included in these releases. But on top of the incredibly perfect and highly detailed and super vintage sculpt that we have here from W Dragon, they've also added in some of the most impressive paintwork I think I've seen from them yet, as there are so many different tones of color, really nice washes that have been applied, really nice dry brushing techniques, super impressive amounts of realism in like the mouth and the teeth and the saliva-like look, the the gloss coats for the eyes and the nails. Everything is just perfect on these models as far as the paintwork goes. So they've absolutely blown me away when it comes to the sculpt. They've blown me away when it comes to the size, and they've also blown me away when it comes to the amazing paint jobs. And I also love the fact that, again, we can switch out the heads. They give you two different versions of the head sculpt of the Rex, so you can decide to put whatever head on your Rex that you want. So if you want him just kind of snarling and looking angry, you've got that option. Or if you want the mouth open like he's coming in for a bite to eat, you've got that option as well. Both head sculpts look fantastic. They apply with a magnet, so they apply perfectly, and again, create the most impressive and absolutely drop-dead gorgeous vintage Tyrannosaurs that I have ever seen. So if you are interested in picking these up, I will include links in the description to Sugo Toys, where you can head on over there right now, place an order for both of these, or one, but I would recommend both, honestly, of these insanely beautiful vintage Tyrannosaurs, and pick them up for yourself. So make sure you check the link in the description, go grab these Tyrannosaurs, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.